You don't preach that long.
You went a little long yesterday.
I went long yesterday. I did. Yeah.
And I purposely cut off early.
You did. You did great.
In fact, I tried to give you the motion.
Yeah.
For the front row.
I know. I saw.
Land the plane.
Yeah. There were some different moments. Just side note, where you were shaking your head like this, but you were just like, "Yeah, come on." So I couldn't tell. It's like, does this mean no? Don't say that, or was it like a yes? Like this is. What's up, everybody?
What's going on?
We're here for Going Deeper.
Going Deeper.
Our Full Life Church podcast here in Franklin, Tennessee. We're so excited. This is just a time we get together to talk about Sunday service, our message, and kind of give a breakdown and go deeper into what God is wanting to say and ways that we can even apply the Word of God to our lives. And this past Sunday, we had our Vision Sunday for the year. And I know we got Valentine's Day coming up. We had the Super Bowl happening, and we were wearing jerseys and doing all the things, and it was really fun. But I really love this new emphasis that we're wanting to take, that based out of Philippians 3:11 through 13. That whatever it takes, I'm wearing the sweatshirt today.
That was the title of the message. Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
Little merch.
Be who Jesus created you to be, and become who He saved you to be. And again, that's based out of Philippians 3. And I love this focus. Because it's not just for, our church, but it's for every individual within our church,
right.
And it's for families to step into whatever it takes to be who Jesus created you to be.
It's the destiny God created us for.
Yeah.
And the week before, we had an incredible guest speaker, and he coined this phrase. It'll be on a T-shirt one day. Risk bigly. Bigly with one G.
Risk bigly.
Yeah, and I spell it right. Yeah, Risk bigly.
Yeah.
That they corrected. Autocorrect was, I thought it would be two G's, but it's only one.
It makes more sense to be two G's.
Risk bigly. Pay attention to the little stuff. He encouraged, and maybe this is just for somebody watching today that oftentimes we want the big. We want the big, magnificent, crazy, ridiculous, audacious miracle, and pretty much all miracles are like that.
Yeah.
But sometimes we're just looking for the atomic bomb that's gone off, and I tell you what, there are miracles upon miracles upon miracles that are happening all around us.
Yeah.
Just by the gratefulness of God, but also just an encouragement not to look past what God is doing, not to look past the simple whisper. Don't look past the ability, the opportunity we had to worship God yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, what a miracle! Awesome. What a miracle that is.
And it was cool too. We tag teamed. You started, and then I ended the message, and the theme throughout it that I really took away when you shared that verse from Deuteronomy. I don't know if you have it pulled up in your notes here.
I do.
But I'd love, go ahead and read it.
Deuteronomy 4:9. Only be careful and watch yourself closely so that you do not forget. And the emphasis was, don't forget where God brought you from.
Yeah.
Don't forget where you've been.
Yeah.
And don't forget where you're going. The things your eyes have seen, or let them fade from your heart. As long as you live, teach them to your children and to their children after them.
Yeah. So something that just in studying that I love, I remember talking to somebody about this where they're like, why does the Bible say to remember, but then Paul says, forget the former things, and like, is that a contradiction? But obviously context is key. But we look all throughout the Old Testament, and specifically with the Israelites coming out of Egypt, we look at David and his Psalms and all of these sort of teachings of remember who God is.
Right.
Remember what He's done. Remember that He is God. And there's this cry for constantly reminding ourselves who He is, because culture is constantly trying to change that and trying to pull us back to like the old way of thinking, or to a sinful way of thinking and living our lives. And so one of the things that I love that you brought up is there are some things that we need to let go of. And it's stuff that maybe we don't necessarily recognize that it's holding us back, but I feel like as we step into doing whatever it takes to become who Jesus created us to be, there's some things that we need to begin to recognize and ask the Holy Spirit to point a finger at in our hearts.
I think of when you brought that up, I think of it's probably on Instagram somewhere, of the monkey that there's peanuts that are thrown inside of a
jar,
or a container, and he reaches in there and grabs a hold of those peanuts or whatever it is, berries, and he can't get his hand back out of the container.
Right.
And I mean, he's trying. Everybody's watching, and it's kind of like, you just let it go, and your hand will slip right out of there.
Right.
But he won't let go.
Right.
And I think it's so profound in our lives. And listen, I got my own stuff that I've held on to, or I hold on to, and I have to remind myself, you got to let go of that.
Yeah.
And it's an ongoing thing, because oftentimes, in order to let go of something, helps us get to the next place.
Yeah. We both kind of hit on it, but like, what are some of the things that need to be let go of? I think there's one of the things I said was just like, it can be good things that we're holding on to, like different ideas or mindsets or like moments in our past that we're trying to keep reliving when God has so much more. And then there's also other things, even sinful areas or corrupt ways of thinking.
Sure.
But what are some other things that we can work on?
I think that's, we are people of habit. And so I think there's ways we've been brought up, and there's some things we need to speak against. There's generational things that we're holding on to, the way we talk to people, the way we talk to ourselves, the way we relying on the person that we're looking on in the mirror, as opposed to relying on the person that we're trying to reflect, and that's Christ. But I think there's it's words. I think it's hurt. I think it's pain. I mean, we're in a society, of church hurt and people hurt. And I tell you what, some of the most freeing things are able to look at somebody and say, "I forgive you. You're off the hook. You owe me nothing."
Right.
And I tell you what, it's been the most freeing statements I've ever made to anybody before.
Yeah. I was thinking about going back in your history in ministry, up in Niagara Falls. You kind of alluded to it a little bit. You were the district youth director in Southern New England for a season as well. And obviously, I mean, I was there too, but I was a little kid at the time. But one of the things that I remembered, it felt like we were in a constant state of growth in our lives, like personally, obviously as a family, adding boys, in our family constantly.
Sure.
With 4 of us, but then also when we were youth directors and youth pastors, I always felt like things were just getting healthier and healthier. What are some of the things in that season that you can remember kind of propelled us, or was a catalyst for us to continue to grow in health and depth in the Lord?
Well, we had a lot of it doesn't happen on its own. Growth. I know we grow. We don't think we grow, but listen, if you didn't eat, if you didn't drink, you didn't sleep, you didn't rest and exercise, you're not going to grow.
Yeah.
And all those things, as you apply them to growing in the Lord, I mean, you've got to read the Word. You've got to spend time in devotion. You've got to eat. You got to exercise. You have practice. All those things. But I think just the idea of always having a deep sense of the Spirit leading and guiding, and getting around people that are part of the same tribe, and want that and desire that, and so and
that gives a lot, like a deep sense of purpose too.
Yeah. That's what I was just going to say. When there's purpose, when there's a call, somebody said before. I forget how it comes across, but I'd rather be. I'll be a minister all day long, as opposed to the king somewhere, or a leader somewhere, because of God's call here. Whatever it looks like. Whatever it takes. Happen to be the name of the message we shared today. But it's so important that you hear from God, you do what He says, and if it's all about you, and if it's all about you just trying to get to the next level, and this is a stepping stone to the next place, and listen, if that's your focus, you might as well just give up right now. Your focus needs to be to honor God. Yeah,
no, 100%. We got into Acts chapter 2. 40. But I loved in this chapter, it really gave us the model for what the church is supposed to be. not just all the stuff that we do, but who we are when we come together. And obviously, I thought it was funny, that the first thing it says, Peter preached a long sermon.
Right.
You don't preach that. You don't preach that long.
You went a little long yesterday.
I went long yesterday. I did. Yeah.
And I purposely cut off early.
You did. You did great.
In fact, I tried to give you the motion.
Yeah.
For the furrow.
I know. I saw.
Land the plane.
Yeah. There were some different moments. Just side note, where you were shaking your head like this, but you were just like, "Yeah, come on." So I couldn't tell. It's like, does this mean no? Don't say that, or was it like a yes? Like this was. Anyways, watching signals from the platform, but I love this whole focus on, and we kind of broke this down with our values, but Jesus being our message. There's preaching of the word, but then also the focus on the people and the gathering of the people and the believers, and they were in regular attendance. The apostles were teaching. There was communion services and prayer meetings, and it really just like hits this point of consistency and rhythms in our lives. And I feel like sometimes we want to fight rhythms, but it's those rhythms that create growth in our lives. But why do you think that maybe, and it could be cultural, it could be a lot of different things, but I feel like sometimes we fight rhythm and we fight consistency when it comes to our walk with the Lord, whether it's reading the Bible or it's coming to church. What are some ways that we can be more consistent, or what are some ways that we can fight sort of this urge to, be inconsistent?
We've got to know who we are. We have to purpose who we are. We have to embrace the calling. I just had this download while we're sitting here about the fact that again, I love the church. I mean, the church is the hope of the world.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, we've turned into such a consumer-driven church that we show up for what we could get. And the end of the day is we need men and women of God who are going to start standing up and saying, "Listen, whatever it takes, I'm just going to do what God's called me to do.
Yeah.
I'm not going to forsake the fellowship with one another. I'm going to show up to church. But you know what? Whether it's a 10, whether the worship team was a 7.5 on a Sunday morning,
right,
that you would just be consumed with loving the Father, and receiving what He has, and really when it comes down to personal growth, it's personal discipline.
Yeah.
If there's not discipline, if there's not a desire to be disciplined unto the Lord, then you are truly only dependent upon what's coming out of the pulpit on a Sunday morning.
Wow. No.
Or the next YouTube or the next podcast you're listening to.
Yeah.
I mean, I say this so genuinely. Do something for God.
Yeah.
Do something for God. Go above and beyond what you think your greatest expectation is or your greatest feat is. Be the hands and feet of God.
Yeah.
And not be so consumed with this showing up. Not be so consumed with just filling a seat.
Yeah.
But let's do something.
Yeah.
Let's change this world.
I love it. No, it's so good. And again, there's this, going back to the scripture, this deep sense of awe being on all of them. There was a fear of the Lord, and again that sense of purpose that we have the opportunity to be a part of something greater together than we can on our own.
Sure.
And again, I think as Americans, we push this individualistic mindset, but even to what you're saying, when we come together purely to chase after the Lord, disciplining ourselves and submitting to the Lord, man, we can be unstoppable in all these different areas in our lives. Again, the believers met together constantly. They shared everything. I loved this too. The generosity is our privilege. They were selling their possessions and dividing with those in need. Just talk really quick about this might be our landing point here. We've been doing this food distribution deal, which I think is really, really cool. And it's really like a fulfillment. In my mind, I see it as a fulfillment of a promise.
Sure.
From years and years ago, if you want to hit on that.
So a little shout out to Mike Davis for hooking us up here locally and with some direction, what y'all do down in, I think it's
McMinnville.
But just grateful to be part of, we're not looking for an ROI. We're just looking to be Jesus.
Hands and feet.
Yeah. And So we got some things kind of percolating here at the church. We started trying to do it quarterly. It's turning now to monthly. We have schools now depending upon us to bring for certain families within their community, and so we just love it. We got some high expectations of busting out some walls and areas here at the church that we're going to be able to store some frozen stuff. And but we tried to do this like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, and it didn't necessarily work out. It became very consumer within the body. Not that we can't do it within the church,
right.
but now we don't see half the people. We don't see hardly any of the people we give food to,
right.
Because we're asking people to bring it.
Yeah.
We'll shift some stuff coming up, but it's just the fulfillment of believe it or not, in Williamson County, there's people that just need a little help, a little subsidy with their finances, with their food, and so we're starting there, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and one of the things that I tried to push too is that there are people within our church body, again, going back to do something for the Lord, who we have influence. There's connections with guidance counselors in other schools, and there's relationships that we have in different areas.
We had somebody call us last week and say, "Hey, I have 5 families. When are we doing it?" They thought it was a week earlier,
right.
and we're like, "Hey, come next week. You can take 5 boxes with you."
Yep.
And so now they are God's hands and feet in their neighborhood.
I love it.
And so just a challenge to those that are watching, those that hear this, and hopefully we're doing whatever it takes. But just be challenged today. Do something.
Yeah.
Do something. Be something. Be everything God's called you to be, and do whatever it takes.
Yeah, we come together, we do something, and the Lord continues to build it. And again, they were praising God together. The whole city was favorable to them. This is verse 47. Each day, God added to them all who were being saved. And I feel like that's just the posture of our heart, where our hearts need to be and where our lives need to be, and doing whatever it takes to be who God created us to be. And God will add, God will build, God will grow. And if we continue to be his hands and feet. So I love it. It's great. Hey, this has been Going Deeper. Go and check out the message from this past Sunday, and you can hear about all the different new kind of initiatives and vision points that we're hitting. But really, really excited for this season and all that God has for us coming up here at Full Life Church.
Awesome.